Hi, my name is James DuMont, and I've been a working actor for the last 30 years. Seeing that we're all indoors during this pandemic, a lot of people wanted to get some tools and tips and tricks of the trade in terms of self-taping and on-camera auditions. As I've been a working actor, I've been self-taping for the last 14 years, and I've also been doing an on-camera workout that I've moved now to Zoom. So I've been learning a lot of things in this process, things that people never told me about, and seeing that I'm an actor and not a casting director talking about the selection process, I'm an actor talking about the actor's process, actor to actor. So some of the things I'm going to share with you today have to do with a lot with how we figure out ways in which we can make the most compelling and most competitive self-tape auditions from our perspective as actors. Now, two of the most important people that I've been able to really encounter in my career, one of which is Tim Phillips, who's been around for 42 years. He's pretty much like a mentor to me in terms of auditions. And he wrote a great book called Audition for Your Career, Not the Job, which is on his website, timphillipsstudio.com. Also, another important teacher is Larry Moss, who's been my acting teacher, and he had a book called Intent to Live, where it's purported that we human beings don't do anything without an intention, whether we're consciously or subconsciously. The more clear and specific we are about our intentions, moment to moment, beat to beat, the more compelling and competitive our auditions can be. So these two people, those books are companion books, and I highly recommend you picking up both of them. Now, we're going to start with talking about the frame line. So we're going to go a little bit wider, but we're going to talk about making the most compelling performance within the context of a frame. You are in a frame. There is no stage right or stage left in film acting. Now, the easiest way to understand the frame is give it a big old hug. This is your frame line. The entire world that you deal with is in the context of this frame. Superman is the top of your frame, and Zombie is the bottom of your frame. The best way to understand working these frame lines is to be able to never take your eyes off, as Tim Phillips talks about in his book. I subscribe to the Sharpshooter School of Film Acting, so I never take my eyes off the object of my behavior, the person in the scene, unless I have a reason to do so, a thought, a memory, or an idea, or there's another person in the context of a scene. Also, to keep in mind is, many times I know it's controversial to talk about props, but if your props are used properly, many actors can book lots of work using them, if you use them properly. Now, cell phones, for example, if you want the cell phone to read, it's got to be up on your shoulder. Say you're looking at a particular text. Oh, you want to share it with someone? Bring it along to the bottom of the frame. Go from shoulder to shoulder, corner to corner. Same thing with guns, and I use prop guns. This is a prop gun, only for self-tapes, which looks like we're going to be doing it for a while. So I take that gun and I make sure that my shoulder is hitting that bottom corner, or I'm going over here. But I'm not blocking my face, and I'm not using props to dilute or to take away the competitive nature of my audition. Also, another thing that comes up, and I've been seeing a lot of this in the 1-minute monologues, is a lot of bit of blinking and a lot of eye flares and eye lines outside of the frame. The more we do this, the less likely the person who's the decision maker is going to watch our audition. So, pop in some Visine into your eyes and start staring at the objects of your behavior so that you're clear and specific about who you're talking to, where they are. Now, we're going to move on to what I call the core four. There are four basic elements that have to happen before you utter a word in an audition. You need to know who you are and all the parts to who. Father, mother, judge, lawyer, and also where you are. Interior, exterior, and where do you fit in the story? First act, second act, third act? Also, what is the one emotion that starts the scene? I break them down into four basics: happy, sad, angry, and scared. There are basically a lot of subcategories to that, but pick one emotion when you're starting the scene. Now, one of my favorite things that I learned from Tim Phillips is objectives. People talk about very intellectual and heady objectives and super objectives, but it's basically quite simple. What do I want you to understand about me? That when I'm teaching and when I'm coaching, doing my on-camera workouts, what I want you to understand about me is I'll give you everything I got when I have time to give it to you. And what I want you to understand about me is that I know what I'm doing. And I can't wait to share this information with you. So basically, those are our core four. Who am I? Where am I? How do I feel? And what do I want you to understand about me? Now we're going to move on to script analysis, or basically Sherlock Holmesing or CSIing your script. Okay, now you have a character breakdown and you have a script or sides that give you indication of what type of show it is, comedy or drama. Now, the most important thing is the character name, of course, but there's also that character breakdown, which can be very tricky because that breakdown or what they're looking for can change over time. So I take that character breakdown with a grain of salt, and I really let the material speak to me. One of the most compelling things I learned from Tim Phillips is how to Sherlock Holmes your script. All the clues, all the evidence, all the gold can be found within the script. Now, I take the character breakdown with a grain of salt. I bring my own human life experience to all my auditions as best I can. So basically the audition is the job, and how I prepare the audition, how I execute it, and how much I bring myself to the audition tells you so much more about what I'm going to do with this role. So rather than worry about what they're looking for, this is what I would do with this role. This is what I'm going to bring to this role based on all the information that you've given me. Bryan Cranston's a dear friend, and he talked about the minute he stopped doing the audition for them and started doing for himself, this is what I would do with this role. He started to work all the time. And that was a very, very helpful thing for me to hear at that particular time in my career. So I'm passing that on to you as well. Now, all scenes have a 3-act structure. So we're going to talk about the 3-act structure next. All scenes, all movies, all books, all auditions have a 3-act structure. Beginning, middle, and end. Oftentimes people ask me, James, what's the first 3 things that you do when you go to an audition? Well, the first thing I do is I go, what I learned from my man Tim Phillips, I go right to the through line. The through line is usually the last line of dialogue or the second last line of dialogue in the scene. It's the spine, it's the thread, it's the through line of the scene. It's what the scene is all about. It's the summation, almost like a lawyer's closing argument. So just like GPS, you put in your destination first, and then you look to see, where are the turns? Do I get off at the bridge? Do I go into the tunnel? Just like an audition, where are the turns in the scene? What's the one major beat change or beat turn in the scene? And then where do I start? Do I start out with my core 4? Am I happy, mad, sad, angry, scared? So how do I start the scene? Where's the turn of the scene? And then how do I finish or close, or what's my button of the scene? The other big thing that I do, because film and television is a visual medium, I read the narrative. It's not lines of dialogue that I have to memorize, but sometimes the narrative can be just as informative, if not just as important, as your lines of dialogue. There are visual cues that are being written in the script that the actor needs to adhere to. So I look at the 3-act structure, I go right into where the narrative is, and that's the basic, quickest way for me into an audition. Now, I want to thank everybody for watching this. I highly recommend that you go to timphillipsstudio.com. I do my Zoom class, so I'm on Facebook. It's James DuMont. His on-camera workouts on Zoom. Hopefully you can join both of us. Thank you very much. And remember, you can't out-fame them, you can't out-name them, you can't out-cue them, you can't out-agent them, but you can out-craft any actor. And craft wins.